Hi, I'm Jacquin. I'd like to talk to you about anchoring, the ability to put a feeling into your body, whether that's a feeling of confidence, determination, fearlessness, but a feeling that's going to empower you. I'd like to give you a few examples of some clients that I've seen, how anchoring's worked for them, and what they've achieved by using anchoring. I saw a man years ago. He was a squash player. Well, he played squash at an amateur level, but at a high amateur level. His real job was a bricklayer. And I knew him as a friend. It was very early on in my career as a hypnotherapist. I'd studied the idea of anchoring and how it would work. In fact, to show you that you don't need a therapy room to do this work, I was actually walking past where he was working on a building site. We started talking about what I was doing, and he asked me if I could help him with his squash. So we actually did the work sitting in the cab of his pickup truck. And what we got him to do, we got him to anchor a feeling of focus into his squash racket. We also used the sound of the glass door shutting behind him as a trigger to trigger that feeling of determination and focus. The upside of that story was that the next 2 days he played two men that he'd never beaten before. He was third in his league and he'd never beaten these two men before. The first man he played threw his racket down halfway through the game, completely frustrated because he was being wiped out. And the second man, my friend, actually beat him without the guy taking a point off him. And this was unheard of. These were the two top men in this team. And with no extra physical training, just anchoring that feeling of positivity. I saw another sportsman who, through business networking I met, he played snooker. And he was in Division 3 of his snooker tournament that he was playing in. And he came to see me. Again, we anchored a feeling of focus into his hand. And we used Steve Davis, because that at the time was the sort of top snooker player in our country. And I asked the man if he could imagine what it feels like to be Steve Davis. He said yes. Can you imagine how focused Steve Davis is when he's playing? And he said yes. We then anchored that feeling into his hand. And again, that man, with no extra physical training, no extra snooker training, he went out and he didn't lose a game. He went from Division 3 to Division 1 without losing a single game, which for him was amazing because he didn't have, to his all intent and purpose, he hadn't been hypnotised. He just used this anchoring technique. So you can use it in sport. It's a fantastic tool to use. I saw another man, he was a cyclist, and he had a problem focusing. He used to do these 50-kilometre rides. He was 5th in the country at his sport, and I got him to bring his cycle into my office. We then anchored a feeling of focus into the handlebars, because his problem that he believed was his problem was that over a period of time, a long period of time, his focus would wane, his determination would go, and his speed would drop. So by anchoring a feeling into his handlebars of being totally focused, if he felt his mind starting to drift, he could grip his handlebars in a certain way, trigger that feeling of focus. He also had a pulsometer, which he looked at every 15 seconds or so. And so we used that through hypnosis and the post-hypnotic suggestion. Every time he looked at his pulsometer, he would revive that feeling of determination. He went out the weekend after we had this time together, and he beat the other 4 men off the road for the first time in his life. Again, phenomenal experience for him, with no extra physical training, just using the technique of anchoring. And the joy of anchoring is this. For me, it's probably the most powerful technique that you can learn, and it's very easy to learn, and anyone can learn it and utilise it and use it for themselves. You know, I'm describing how I've used it for people in sport, but you can use it in business. I had a friend, she was working in recruitment for years. Then she decided to go travelling. I think she travelled around the Far East. And she travelled for a couple of years. When she came back, she needed to get back into work. But for her, her confidence in doing what she used to do sort of gone. She felt it had gone. So she'd got a job coming up in telesales for one of the major national companies. And I got her to understand that with telesales, and most people understand that, is that it's about percentage. If you pick the phone up enough times, speak to enough people, you'll get the sales. But for most people in telesales, what happens is they pick up the phone, they say, "Hi, I'm Freddie." Someone will say, "I'll clear off," or "get lost," or something else as nasty. The person feels bad about themselves, they feel that feeling of rejection, and they put the phone down. They do anything other than pick the phone up because they feel that horrible feeling. So for the girl that I'm talking about, I got her to understand that it is about percentage, and I got her to anchor a feeling into the phone, a really positive feeling into the phone. For her, after that, when she was working, if someone gave her some rejection or said something nasty, she would honestly say, "Thank you very much, have a nice day," and immediately dial the next number. And within months, that girl was the top salesperson for that company, just using a positive anchor. So you can use an object, you can use a physical anchor, like your fingers together, and you can use a trigger word to revive these feelings. But it's a wonderful, powerful technique that anyone can use, anyone can learn. So if you get the opportunity to give yourself a positive anchor, do it. If you want to learn the techniques, obviously you can find people who will teach you. I can teach you that. But mainly use it for yourself. Recognize when you're in a positive state, when you're feeling good, and use a physical anchor to put that into you so you can use it other times when you're not feeling so good.